Hello and welcome, I'm Bill and this is Intro to C. In today's video I'm going to teach you how to set up a C project within Visual Studio. If you didn't watch the previous video where you learned how to install and use the basics of the text editor and stuff within Visual Studio, please do watch that. And today I'm now going to show you how to set one up. So I've got Visual Studio open already, so it's quick and loads up very quickly. So the first thing I'm doing, I'm going to make it bigger, and we're going to create a new project. So what I'm going to do is go File, New, and then New Project. This will create a new project. And what you want to do is make sure you're in the templates, then go to Visual C++. I know it says C++, but we're going to do C. I'll show you how to set up so it compiles as C. Now when it goes to Win32, make sure you get Win32 console application selected. It may be defaulted as that or something else, but you want console application. And the console application is kind of you're designing a command line application. Now most applications you use today will be graphical user interface ones, so GUI, as some people say, GUIs, and they literally have buttons and widgets and toolbars and all that lot. Now the applications we'll start developing to begin with will be called command line interfaces, so CLIs, and these will be just text. You input text and it outputs text. This is an old-fashioned way of doing it. Not outdated, but old-fashioned. And that's what we're going to be learning to do for a lot of the time. It's very useful to understand, and it's very simple to understand as well. So when you've created it, I want to say, what is the name of this thing? And I'm going to say Intro to C. Now it's asking me what the location is, and I'm just going to save it in the literally the W directory, which is on my drive. So if you want to go, you can click Browse. This is my W drive. It's like, you know, you've got the C drive, the E drive, F drive. And the W is just like a subst drive is what it's called. It's actually just an alias to a different directory on a drive. Don't worry, I'm not going to show you how to do that. You don't need to worry. But here's C drive, my E drive, and my F drive, and this is my W drive. So I'm going to save it here. Yep, that's where I'm going to save it to. It'll ask you down the bottom here, do you want to create a directory for the solution? And I'll say no. And it says, do you want to add source control? And I'm just going to say no for now. I'm not going to teach you source control at all. So click OK. The wizard will pop up, and I'm just going to click Next. And it's going to ask me loads of things. Now, I want to get rid of the pre-compiled header. I don't find it useful whatsoever. And I don't need it. Security development, yeah, I'll keep that on. That's fine, but make sure it's console applications and not a Windows application or DLL or static library. Now, this is on Windows at least. There's a separation between the console application and the Windows application, and on other operating systems such as Linux and Mac and such, there's no distinction between those two. They're the same kind of project to build. Windows, for some reason, thought, you know what, we need to split them up. I have no idea why, but they did. So, no, well. So I'm going to click Finish. It's going to generate the project. Takes a little while for some bizarre reason. Visual Studio being Visual Studio. And hey presto, loads of things have been generated. Now, you'll be brought up with this little window in a sense. And loads of things. It says, Intro to C.cpp defines the entry point for the console application. Okay, it told me how to do this. So, hey presto, we've got a very basic project set up. Now, as you notice, we've got the text in the middle here, and then what is called like the Solution Explorer, or our Project Explorer, technically what it is, on the right. Now, I prefer having it on the left personally, but I'm going to keep it on the right for this project. It doesn't make a difference. But one thing I will do is increase the text. Now, I did show how to do it in the previous video, but I'm going to show it again so you understand. So if you want to customize any of this, you can. So if you want to move these like panels around, you can just usually click on them and move them around. So if I want it on the left, you can drag it around, select it, go onto the left, and it'll drag onto there. If I want it on the bottom, I can put it on the bottom. If I want it, you can see where I'm going, right? If I want it on another panel, you can put it halfway on another panel. Now there's other things like these properties things. I don't find them useful whatsoever, so I just get rid of them. Team Explorer. You're not working on team, I'm guessing, so you can just get rid of that. And class view, definitely get rid of that because you're working in C. So now you only got Solution Explorer and the text editor. Now on the left, you've got some other tools. You've got Server Explorer, you don't want that, and the toolbox, you don't want that. So there's a load of stuff in Visual Studio, and it's not very useful. Now at the bottom there's this like status bar as to like a lot of applications have a status bar, so it tells you if it's ready, what line you're on, what column, what, I don't know, character it probably is, yeah, and then what mode you're inserting. So you can remove this, you don't have to remove it, whatever you want. So what I'm going to do is set it up first, so it's usable for a beginner and for many other people. So first I'm going to go into Tools, then go into Options. So I like the dark theme myself. I like looking on white text on a dark background. I don't particularly want the status bar because I don't really care about half this stuff at the bottom, and it's a different colour and it's a bit out of the way. So that's one thing. Okay, good. Next I want to change the fonts and stuff. I'm going to keep it as Consolus, which should be the default. If not, it'll be some other default font. Make sure it's a monospaced font, which means each character is the same width. And I'm going to change the size to about 18, so it's visible on your computer monitors. Yeah, 18 is good enough. So that should be fine. I'm going to click OK to see the changes, and hey presto, there's some changes. Good. I'm going to go back into the Tools, then Options to customize this layout. And then what we're going to do is then I'm going to look through here. Where should we go? We need to go into the text editor. Now in the text editor it'll have some other things here saying like drag and drop text editing. Do you want that? Yeah, leave it on. Automatic delimiter highlighting, yeah, fine. Just these are all fine. Like these things will say, do you want a selection in the margin? Yeah. And then highlight current line, yeah. So wherever this blinking line is, your cursor, it'll also highlight whichever current line you're on as well. So I'm going to also now go on to the C and C++. I'm sorry if I'm going through this quite quickly. I don't want this to be a long video, and you can rewatch these videos as many times as you want if you don't understand stuff. So on the C and C++ thing, I would enable line numbers, because this will be very useful for a beginner, and many other people in fact, to understand what line you're on, and if an error occurs, it will usually give you the line number that error happened on. So you can just search for that line and there it is. Okay? And this is word wrap, I don't want that. This is virtual space, don't want that. So that seems to be fine. So it's now open it up. And then go into general, nope, go to scroll bars. What else is there? Yeah, that's fine with me. Tabs. Now tabs, this is again holy war in programming. And what they say is, do you prefer tabs or do you prefer spaces or blah, 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 blah. Now I would say put smart indentation on. And I would keep it as 4 tabs and an indent size is 4, and then keep tabs. And I'm going to say use tabs rather than spaces. That's again for your indentation. Don't worry. Your tab key is usually above your caps lock, or if you're on a QWERTY keyboard, next left to the Q, or if you're on a ZERTY, it's next to the A, and you know what I mean, I guess. So that'll insert your tablature character. If we go on to the advanced. We can see all these other settings, can leave them. Experimental, you don't really want any of that. Formatting. Now I'm going to disable all the automatic formatting, and be honest with you, it just gets in the way. So automatically format statement when I type a thingy, no, don't care. Automatically format a block, don't care. Automatically format braces, don't care. When I paste, indent but don't format. I don't like half of the stuff it does because it doesn't do it correctly is the short answer. Indent each line, just half of this I don't really want, so I'm just gonna, I can disable it when I get there. Okay, and then last thing is view, nothing there. So that's all I need to do to set up my text editor. So I'm going to click OK, and hey presto, we've now got line numbers and it should work. So but the first problem is we are compiling as C++ at the moment, and we want to compile as C. This is the whole point of this video. So what I want you to do is you go over to your Solution Explorer, if it's on the right or your left, wherever, and then right click on where it says the project's name, not the solution but the project, and click onto Properties. Now in here it'll have loads of information, like for instance what's your target platform, what target version you want to go for, what's your output directory, all that and all this crap. And it's going to be loads of stuff in here for you which you don't want to use. Now when it says character sets, use Unicode character set or not, just leave that as that. Yeah, leave it as that. There's loads of stuff on here which is not useful half the time. And actually it's advanced stuff even though it's in the general. I don't know why. But what you want to do is I say make sure when it's on configurations at the top here, go into all configurations. So this means it will apply all the settings to everything. And make sure you're on all platforms as well. So everything will be adjusted because we want all of our projects and all our configurations to be built as C. Don't worry about this, but the configurations, all it means is you'll have a debug build, one you'll be developing on, and then you'll have something called a release build, the one you'll actually distribute your applications that you've developed, your software, to the real world. So it doesn't have any of this debug information. It'll be usually smaller, faster, many other things. But when we're developing, we want debug mode so we can debug it very easily. But the settings we're going to do are going to compile to all configurations. So now you need to drop down to the C++ setting. And when it says all of these different things here, it says include different directories, usings, all that lot, whatever. Now, it will say warning level. Now, I'm going to increase that to warning level 4. Not all warnings, but level 4. And then it says treat warnings as 0. I'm going to say no, not for now. Just let us do the warnings. Now, warning level 4 will give us loads more errors, which say, not warnings in the sense like you shouldn't be doing this, should be doing this, whatever. I'm going to click apply to make sure I don't cock anything up. So now we go into the general. It's optimizations, just leave that, leave all this. Now, I'm going to go to the advanced bit. Yeah? Now, when it goes to the advanced bit, it says compile as, and it says default. Now, the default is C++. You want to go down and then click compile as C code. Now, if you're on Visual Studio 2015, when you compile C code, it'll be in C99, which is the version I'll be teaching. If you're in an older version of Visual Studio, it will probably compile in a C89-ish C++. And I say ish because it does have some of the C99's features, and yeah, it'll be a bit confusing. So I'm going to click apply and do that. So now I'm going to go back up where I'm just going to go to general. I'm going to keep going down these things until I can find a bit. Here we go. Code generation. Now, string pooling, we're going to say no. Enable minimal rebuild. Now, I'm going to say no because I don't particularly like it. It doesn't even though it's a minimal rebuild, it actually, most of the builds I use, it actually makes it go slower. So what's the point? Exceptions, we're going to disable them completely because we're using C, we're not using exceptions or anything like that. And these are C++ exceptions. Basic runtime checks, just leave that. Runtime library, leave that. Struct member alignment, leave it as default. Don't worry, we're not going to talk about loads of this is advanced really. I don't know why this is under advanced, and compiler C is in advanced for some bizarre reason. Don't let me understand that. Right, I don't understand why. So there is pretty much what we're doing, and that's all we need to do. There's a link. I'm just going to check the linker settings as well. Don't worry, I won't explain what the link is yet. I'm just checking everything's okay, what the defaults are. Yeah, that seems to be all fine. So I'm going to click apply again and then click OK. So now that that is built as C. So every single piece of code we're going to write is going to be in C. Now, as you can see here, it says our header files and source files and all these lot. They have loads of stuff in here. Now, what I want to do is just completely delete these because they are not. I don't want any of these. So I'm going to click completely delete from the system. So right click on them, remove, and then delete. This actually removes it completely. Go again, right click on all of these files in here, even the readme, every single file, remove, delete. Again, not rename, sorry, remove, delete. And I'm going to show you how to create these again and actually what we want. Okay, so now we've got our project set up and we've got absolutely no files whatsoever in our project. So on here, in its source files, I'm just going to leave it in this default layout. You may be seeing this where there's no files in here, which is show all files. Now just make sure you're not on show all files. So we go into the source files and I'm going to click add new item. And then it's going to tell me which files you want as like a thing. And I'm just going to type in here and I'm going to type in main.c. So then I'm going to say this is the entry point of the program. I'm going to explain this all in the next chapter. explaining how your initial program works and how it compiles and stuff. But this is just a check to see if it works. Okay, so we created that, and now we've got a plain file. Okay, and it's also added to our project. So you now need to copy exactly what I write. You will not understand it. I just want you to copy it as exactly as I write. So first thing I'm going to do is use the hash key. You'll need to find what that is, and then I'm going to write the word include. Yeah, I'm going to put a space. Then I'm going to put an angle brackets in there. So you've got your left angle bracket and your right angle brackets. These are like less than and greater than. Yeah. And then I'm going to write stdio.h. You may notice that this thing below here is popping up and giving you completions. This is the autocomplete, or the in Visual Studio. It's called IntelliSense, and it's not very intelligent actually, but for some reason they call it IntelliSense. So I'm going to click Enter to get rid of that thing, or you can click Escape to get rid of the autocomplete. And now I'm going to click Enter again to do a new line, and another new line as well. I'm now going to write int space main for main, and then I'm going to do an open parentheses, and then close parentheses, and then do a new line, and then I'm going to do one of these curly braces, which you'll on an English QWERTY keyboard, it's next to P, and you have to do Shift and then do the square bracket. So in English, you'll probably never need to do these ever before, because you only find these in mathematics, science, and programming. These symbols, you don't use it in English. And then I'm going to do Enter, and it's already put in the next one for me, which is fine. And then do Enter. It's automatically indented for me, but if it doesn't for you, you just need to press the Tab key, which is next to Q. I'm just going to make sure you understand this. And then I'm going to write printf, so printf, do an open parentheses, and then I'm going to do a speech mark now. So the speech mark on my keyboard is Shift 2. It might be Shift, comma, apostrophe U, depends on the keyboard. And now I'm going to type in hello, and then exclamation mark. And I'm going to write /n. Don't worry if you don't understand any of this. Then I'm going to put a semicolon at the end of that line. Do another line, and then another line. Type in return 0, and then semicolon. I'm going to save this either by going to File, then Save Main C, or Control S as it says. So that is now saved, and I'm now going to click Local Windows Debugger, or to actually build and run this. But if you want to do it manually as well, you can click Build, so you can build solution, or Control-Shift-B as it's saying, and the thing at the bottom will pop up, which is your output window. And it was saying it'll build your files. It's built the main.c file, and it says it succeeded. There was no errors. Good. So that worked. Now, when it says we're going to go into debug, and we're going to click Start Debugging. This is the same as running as your file. And hey presto, when we run it, pops up and then disappears. That was useful. But at least we know it worked. And I'm going to show you in the next chapter how this works, and I'm just going to prove it works as well. I'm just going to say do that for now. Don't worry if you will not understand any of this. And if you just write get char now above the return 0 line, like so, get char parentheses and semicolon, and then I'm going to build and run this again. So I can just press that button there. It says would you like to build them? Yes. I don't want to show this again, but actually I'll keep it up because you'll need to do it later. And now you're brought up with this little window here. I've got some other tools which I don't want and which are not actually useful. And many other things is here as well. So it's got a big little window here. It says hello inside, and now it's blinking at me because it's waiting for some keyboard input. So as soon as I push like enter or something, it disappears. So that is our hello world program, or hello, in Visual C Studio. So we got our build environment working. We are compiling as C. We got our project set up, and this is going to be the exact same project that we're going to be using throughout the series. So you don't have to do this ever again. So thank you for watching, actually, this entire chapter. This chapter is done. In the next video, though, of this chapter, I'll do a summary of what you have learnt and what we learnt to do, and I'll also give out some basic homework. This homework will be very easy. There won't be anything to do with programming yet at all. All I'll do is ask you some certain questions that you need to make sure you understand. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.